afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to address to you today. My name is João Lupi, and I'll have a brief talk regarding the future of the European sector and explain you a little bit what Portugal has currently and how it can play a pivotal role on the European sector success. It will be a short talk, but hopefully you will be able to provide you some new information or further details in some information you might be acquainted with. As by way of a short introduction, I'm a lawyer. I co-head our space and satellites team in one of the main law firms in Portugal, Abreu Advogados, that has offices in Lisbon, Porto, and Funchal, Madeira, Mozambique, and Angola, and also works actively through partnerships with other Lusophone African-speaking countries. Without further ado, let's start to look to Europe. Basically, we're living promising and exciting times, but amidst the several challenges that we face, we have an increasing global competition. There are concerns in terms of our technological and launching capabilities. We have a fragmental legal sector, which obviously puts some pressure and uncertainty for industries that want to thrive in this sector. And all of this has somehow been already flagged on the Draghi report, to not mention the most obvious, which is funding concerns, especially linked with the increasing global competition. Nevertheless, we had already some promising measures that had been adopted or announced. So let's start for what we have already that might help to tackle and to look to the future with a brighter perspective. We have the new Commissioner for Space and Defense. We have the strategy of space for defense and security. And most recently, we also, before that, we have the EU program up and running. The deployment of the IRIS program, it's taking place by now, and which is also good news for the sector. And we have very recently, that was announced in Davos, the competitiveness compass, which basically it's a roadmap that intends to fill the gap that were also identified on the Draghi report, and that has a focus in 3 areas, and happily for all of us, space technology, it's one of them. As in what concerns what has been announced, we will have a new strategy for the space industry that will be soon implemented. And we will have also the new EU space law. Now let's talk a little bit of what is known and what would be the possible impacts of this EU space law. It's still under development. So, and there's actually a little bit of secrecy in the negotiations. Even though it's not a new project, it will certainly be adopted and implemented. If not during this year, the latest, according to our last information, will be on the first quarter of 2026. Even though it's under development and not much is yet known, some of its key features are were already disclosed. We know that we'll pretty much focus on resilience, safety, and sustainability. There will be a focus on the space operations, which includes launching of satellites, installation of spaceports. There's an intention to open the possibility to install and operate spaceports in the European Union territory by private actors, irrespectively of their nationality. And obviously there will be measures to ensure and tackle the growing problems of sustainability. We refer specifically to space debris, either through mitigation, monetization, or risk decreasing. Well, this will help, obviously, to provide more certainty to the European sector that wants to work in the region, because it will tackle the current uncertainty. We have currently, for those who are not aware, there are 12 laws. So there are EU state members that have any law in force, and between the 12 the last one was very recently enacted. There are obviously differences that brings risks and requires more costs when you have your P&L and business plan for any of these projects. So we anticipate that it will obviously might have a good impact, help the industry growth. It will provide more clearance in terms of the rules and the compliance that every and each player needs to comply with. There's also some concerns to see how all this will cope. For those that are more attentive to sustainability issues, we have the omnibus package, which basically, after 3 or 4 years preparing and approving a huge and very complex puzzle of legal instruments, aims to reduce them, aggregate them, so all of this might have the counter effect of providing less uncertainty, more uncertainty when you just announce new laws to change the effects of the laws that were already implemented. So let's see where this turns out. We are confident that the rules that will promote the sustainability will follow much more the long-term sustainability guidelines and the Zero Debris Charter of ESA. But, well, we have to wait to see how all that turns out. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but I will just ask you to spare some extra minutes to talk to you about Portugal. Portugal has been adopting in the recent years political, legal, and institutional steps that provide them with a complete and secure legal background. So basically we started in 2018 and we have all the legal background set up from 3 years until now. We have our national strategy approved at the same time up until 2030, and also a national strategy of space for defense also until 2030. We have, as many of you might know, our own spaceport in the autonomous region of Azores in Santa Maria, which is up and running. It had already 2 launches in September, and actually it was in the last year, around November, December, announced by the director of ESA its intention to have Space Rider landing there on 2027. So under the strategy, the national strategy that we have for space, there's basically 3 axes. One of them is to develop, build, and operate all which is related with equipments and infrastructure, with special emphasis on nano, micro, and mini satellites. So obviously, in strategic terms, Portugal believes that that will be the future, which also brings some limitations because, as most of you are aware, there's much more than this specific segment of satellites and launches. The Azores region, on its turn, it's worth mentioning that it has also its own plan that was approved until 2021, and that basically intends to set up there what they call Atlantic Space Hub. So around the surroundings of the spaceport, where actually we also have the headquarters of ESA, where Portugal has participated actively on all these years in many projects. It's intended to build a research center and to enhance all the capabilities. So this it's worth mentioning in terms also of Portugal. And why may Portugal play a pivotal role? It's not only because we have everything in place already up and running, but the Santa Maria spaceport, which is actually one of our limitations when we look to the future of Europe in terms of the space sector, which is exactly our launching capabilities, it's in a very good geostrategic location. It's more or less halfway from the American coast as it is to the European coast, and in technical terms it allows to reach LEO with a very lower cost associated. So we are pretty confident that in the upcoming years the spaceport may play a very important role, and we can stay near the coast, then go to Guyana, French Guyana, to make some of the launches. And I want to take this opportunity to share also something with you, which is one of the things, the features that it's already known in relation to the EU space law, and it's very promising, and also tackles this limitation of our launching capabilities. It's the capacity that it's now open for the private sector, irrespectively, once again, of its nationality, to seek for a license to install and operate spaceports in Europe, would be in the European territory, but we already have that in Portugal. So the last amendment to our space law already foresees this possibility, obviously for our national territory. And this open the market for new investments and business opportunities, and it might also be a very interesting angle that will help things going forward. Obviously, that in terms of the shape that the EU new space law will have is still unknown, but everything indicates that will be a regulation. Regulation, the main difference from the directives, is that will be directly applicable in all state members without the need of approving a specific national legal instrument to put those solutions in force. However, until it gets approved and until it starts effectively producing its effects in each state member, we may face around more than 2 years, or probably 3 years. And until then, that it's one of the great features that will help Europe thrive in the future. It's already open and functioning in Portugal. I will just add 2 or 3 details in relation to this opportunity. First, the initial term for the license to install and operate spaceports in Portugal, on the Portuguese territory, it's foreseen for 15 years. And it may be subject to renewal. Other interesting aspect is that you will still be obliged to obtain all the related license, environmental, construction, and all others that are applicable irrespectively of the nature of the project. However, there's a huge advantage that the law foresees that our space authority will act as a one-stop shop, meaning that you will not have the burden to seek to each different authority to file a specific process, but you can do it all centralized on the figure of our National Space Authority. So exciting but promising times. Challenges are there. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and thank you very much for your time.